thank you for joining us. Really excited to have everybody here this afternoon. My name is Melissa Maloney. I am the Vice President of Tech Alliance. And as the Regional Innovation Hub for Southwestern Ontario, Tech Alliance provides advice, experiences, and access to capitals to launch startups, accelerate scale-ups, and partner with enterprises and inspiring talent. We support entrepreneurs, industry leaders, tech talent, and stakeholders in generating growth and prosperity for rural and urban communities in our region, while also amplifying the stories of Ontario's most promising startup ventures and fastest growing technology companies. We are the place for dreamers, innovators, and world-changing ideas. Our success is your success, and we're committed to building Southwestern Ontario as the next innovation corridor. If you'd like to engage with any of our venture growth team, read stories about innovation that is shaping our community with world-changing ideas, or join any of our other upcoming experiences, definitely we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. To start, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. Acknowledging the stolen land upon which Tech Alliance sits is merely a starting point. As settlers, it is imperative to honor the region's First Nations and all the original peoples of Turtle Island to recognize the trauma, genocide, and history of Indigenous peoples. This land is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape, and the Adirondack peoples, and the Wendat. To advance the truth and reconciliation, our team is committed to continued learning, advocacy, and actively working alongside Indigenous-led business and entrepreneurs. Before we get this fireside chat started, I do have a couple housekeeping points. So you will have an opportunity to ask questions at the end, and there's also no need to take notes if you would not like to, because for your convenience, we are recording this, and it will be available for replay on our YouTube channel. So, we know that they say that people are our greatest asset, and so today we have the chance to gather with local leaders and dive deep into the world of acquiring, developing, and retaining tech talent and building a healthy workplace culture. Recruitment has been particularly challenging, specifically in the world of tech and innovation. We live in a rapidly evolving technological landscape where HR professionals and leaders such as yourselves are facing immense challenges. Through this conversation, I'm confident that you will find answers to your most pressing questions and might even find a truly aha moment or two. Before I get to introducing our distinguished panel, I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to our sponsor for this fireside chat, LBMX. An innovative B2B venture, LBMX helps businesses connect with their potential customers through their software by leveraging real-time data. Thank you for partnering with us on this fireside chat. Now, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our panel of experts, Candace Neal, Christina Nurse, and Liam Nediger, three thought leaders in the technology and human resource development space. Candace Neal is the Director of Human Resources at LBMX, a technology company that provides platforms that drive the commercial relationships between suppliers and their independent customers. Candace has been working with the company since 2017, and it's under her leadership that LBMX has been named a top 100 employer in Canada for small and medium-sized firms in both 2022 and 2023. A member of the Human Resources Professional Association, Candace has studied Human Resources Management at Fanshawe College and is currently working towards her CHRL certificate. Christina Nurse, we're not sitting in order today. Christina Nurse is the Director of Employee Experience at Northern Commerce, a full-service digital marketing solutions and e-commerce agency. With an extensive experience spanning over 20 years, Christina's expertise covers areas such as customer service, project management, communications, and operations. Apart from this, Christina is also passionate about elevating employee satisfaction, fostering a positive environment, and helping aspire professionals through mentorship. Liam Nediger is the Chief Technology Officer at Infotech Research Group, a research venture that produces unbiased and highly relevant IT research to help CIOs and IT leaders make strategic, timely, and well-informed decisions. With over a decade in progressively senior IT roles, Liam has had a broad and deep exposure to software development, architecture, business intelligence, and systems integration, and currently oversees the Commercial Operations and Application Development Division. With a panel that brings years of experience, education, and tangible results at high potential ventures, we'll be tapping into everything related to human resources and workplace culture, including retention strategies, onboarding and training, organizational structure, and so much more. You are now done listening to me, and we're gonna listen to them. So, I'm very excited to get us started. So our first question today, which is for all the panelists, is what are some best practices for onboarding and training new tech hires when scaling a team? So Candace gets the pleasure of sitting closest to me, so we can start with you.
Hey, lucky me. Let's give a bit of feedback. Yeah, so I mean, when you're onboarding and you're training those new hires, we like to engage our new hires before they start with us with their pre-boarding. So through that pre-boarding, they're gonna get a welcome email, what to expect on your first day. They're gonna get all of that new hire paperwork out of the way so they're not sitting and doing those mundane tasks on their first day. And it's also an opportunity for them to be introduced to their team and for their team to get to know them before they start. And I think that's really important. And onboarding and training, really, let's think about it from even the applicant, from that process. It starts then. So think about how the process is going to be for those people applying for these jobs. Make it smooth and easy for them. I really recommend that if you're in a hybrid environment that you have your new hires start on site, whether it be for the first month or even until they're fully capable and comfortable in that role. I think it's important for them to get immersed into your culture, to get to know the team, and it's just so much easier for training. Another thing that we found that was easier, and we just actually did this, is we hired 6 new people and we tried to align the start date. And this makes it so much easier for training purposes. It gives them a buddy system. They're all new together and they're learning together. They can bounce ideas off each other. They can, if they're stuck, they don't necessarily have to bug their manager for the answer. They can try and figure it out as a group and as a team together. And I think that's been really important for us. Those 30, 60-day milestones when you're onboarding. What are you looking to achieve by your 30, 60, 90 days? And be flexible in your training plan. You might have an idea of how long things are going to take, but some things might take a little longer than you had expected, and some things they might breeze through. So be flexible in that training program as well.
Awesome. Christine, I'll give it to you just so that for the mic switch makes it easier.
All right, well, Candace, you did an excellent job answering that question. You covered the majority of my points, but yeah, definitely, I really want to support the 30, 60, 90-day review. It's super important for both sides, so whether you're the new employee or you're the employer, the value of it is it sets goals, it sets expectations, especially now because so many people are working remotely. In our office, about 75% are working remotely. So, and especially those who are skilled, so you're hiring at an intermediate or senior level, people will learn pretty quickly if you're good at what you do. And if you're working remotely, people will reach out to you and say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So with your 30, 60, 90-day goals provided, it helps new employees to stay on track. This is what I'm responsible for. This is what I need to work to. So people aren't taking advantage of other people within your company, and you're getting the work done. And the new people are getting the training they need, because even if you're intermediate or senior person and you're new, younger people with less experience are still going to ask you questions. So it's important that you get the time to get the policies and procedures, understand the culture, understand how Northern Commerce, for example, expects you to work.
Next question is for Candace. So LVMX was just recognized as one of Canada's top employers in terms of communications. What strategies do you use to attract top tech talent?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So social media, obviously, that's a huge piece for us. Our marketing department is really fantastic at posting all of our achievements, our wins, our successes, new product launches, exciting company updates. It's a really good place for you to showcase your culture, and it's regular posts are going to catch the eye of that passive and active job seeker. So I think it's really important that you maintain and stay on top of your social media. Our inter-company communications, that's another way we communicate it. We have our monthly newsletter. We post all of our open roles on our monthly newsletter. We have an employee referral program, so as we're posting those jobs, hey guys, don't forget about the $1,000 employee referral bonus that we have. And word of mouth is huge. So if you create that culture and that environment that your employees are proud of, or you've created that amazing onboarding experience for that new hire, they're going to share it with their network. They're going to tell people about it. So word of mouth is huge for us. Our job postings, we make sure that we highlight on our job postings all of our perks of working with us. The amount of paid days off that you get when you start, the maternity leave and parental leave top-up, those really great eye-catching programs and things that are important to people. Our careers page, we have a 2-minute video on our careers page, what does LBMX mean to me? And it's various employees of our company talking about what the company means to them. And I love that piece. It really, again, showcases our culture. Community involvement, another huge one. Get involved in your communities, get involved in those charities, get involved in forums such as this. We recently created LBMX Place, and it's a charity initiative within the London community that's music focused. So we've partnered with the London Arts Council and UNESCO, and again, a great way to get your name out there and build that reputation as a place that people want to come and be a part of. Job fairs, another really great one. We attended the Tech Talent Exchange at Fanshawe College just this past March, and the very next day we had an uptick of 150 applicants for one open role just from attending that job fair. As employers, we were able to get up and do a 60-second elevator pitch on why you want to come and work for us, and hugely beneficial. So we'll definitely be attending those again. Glassdoor, this is a really small piece, but it has a big impact. Our CEO personally responds to all comments on Glassdoor. And I've had a lot of applicants come in during that candidate interview and comment on how much they appreciate seeing that leadership takes the time to comment on these things. They're paying attention and they're listening, and I think that's really important for people to see. And then of course the media. We utilize the media, for our wins, such as our Canada's Top 100 win. Business Wire will do press releases through them. With the Canada's Top 100, they do a publication in their Globe and Mail magazine, and so we utilize that as well. But I really think that the community involvement is a huge piece, and of course your social media.
Amazing. I got lots of ideas.
Yeah.
And a nice little plug for Tech Talent Exchange there as well. You'd almost think we paid her for that. So the next question is for everybody, and why don't we start with Christine for this one. So do you think it's more effective to invest in the, do you think it's more effective to invest in the learning and development of already existing team members or hiring new talent? You can start us off.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, when I read this question, I was like, 100% invest in your people. It is I could almost say for all companies, it is so important to invest in your people in learning and development, and it should be part of your culture because it is truly a significant part of retention, of keeping people and keeping them engaged, keeping them feeling motivated, and I would say that's pretty much the answer to that. And as far as investing or hiring other people, I broke it down into 2 points. I say urgency comes into play often. You land in our world, we're an agency-based company, so we can gain a new account quite quickly, and we may not have the capacity to do this, so we may need to hire urgently to bring somebody else in. And then also, say we have a growth plan and we're developing a certain new area, it may be advantageous for us to bring somebody else in who has that experience. Again, the cool part about that is that's new learning, so therefore the rest of the staff learn from the new people bringing them in, so it's all around good. But there's, I guess, certain decisions, certain aspects that will dictate whether you bring in someone new or elevate from within, but always keep learning and developing it as much as you can with your people.
Awesome. Leah?
Yeah, I probably echo a lot of what you just said there. I think, I don't know that I put one above the other. When you're looking to scale your group, I think having effective capabilities in both areas is pretty critical. I think always, supporting learning and development of your team is super important in terms of retention, job satisfaction, productivity, all of that fun stuff. But as you're looking at areas that you need to grow or mature, there are certainly times where bringing someone in who's sort of been there and done that will help you accelerate and mitigate risk in areas where it's particularly critical. And I would echo the fact that I think when you're looking at learning and development, having mentors and people that your team can learn from is sort of a critical piece of that. It's not just taking courses or reading books or exposure to new stuff. It's who do you have that you can see as a role model and can then bring their experiences to the team. So.
I don't know how much more I can add to all of that. I mean, I agree. You want to develop the talent that you have. You want to make that investment in them. It's a great way to fill some gaps that you might have in the organization. But there may be times where you do need to hire those new people. Maybe it's not a teachable skill that you need to bring in the door. So I would say healthy mix of both.
Awesome. So when we think, for a question for everybody again, so what would you say are the challenges that companies typically face when scaling their tech talent, and how can these challenges be overcome? Why don't we start with Liam this one?
Sure. I think for me, one of the things I've seen as a particularly kind of challenging piece is moving from that tribal knowledge when you're a smaller group to a more sustainable, documented world where you can effectively onboard people, right? Because you bring somebody in or somebody looks at something and everybody always says this needs to be documented. But how many people are actually willing to do that documentation and then keep it up to date as you go, right? And so for us, the thing that made the difference was we pulled some people out into roles where that was a part of their focus. We took some of our senior developers in this particular case and kind of elevated them up into an architect position, which in other places may be called sort of a staff level, where their mandate is kind of to consistently improve the development process, be leveraged to raise up the capabilities of all the teams across the board. And what came out of that was naturally, I'm getting all these questions about these things, I'm going to produce documentation so I have to answer it 19 times. And so you've got a team who's motivated to kind of maintain those processes and continually improve them and then build out that documentation. So that's one of the largest things that I've seen and that we've kind of solved in the past little while.
Awesome. Christine, you want to take it too?
Certainly. I would say I'm going to take an agency perspective for the answer to this. One of the big challenges is when. So there's one thing to finding the right people, but when do they start? And to add on to Liam's comment about, it's important to get them working right away, especially intermediate and senior people. When you bring them on, sure, they have to learn policies and procedures, but get them in the weeds, get them involved, get them integrated, get them working with clients. So for us, because we are an agency and dependent on clients giving us work, we can often draft statements of work, provide them to clients. It can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 months to get a sign off, especially right now with the climate. People are a little more sensitive to signing the bottom line to large projects. So because of that, we know the work's coming and we work with sales and we work, communicate. We're 90%, but 90% can still mean like the work doesn't come for another 3 months. And to bring someone on and not have them do work or do minimal work is not a smart business practice. So it's a difficult situation where you have to have a lot of communication between your sales, accounts people, and delivery people, knowing it's close, they're signing it, we're having a meeting today, just so you know. So when you're preparing to bring somebody on or shift roles, you're ready, your delivery people are ready to adjust to accommodate this. That's also an important part.
Christine, I'm just curious, with knowing that you have that agency model, do you find that your headcount fluctuates in that? Do you fluctuate your headcount based on projects, or do you kind of anticipate that that we're going to stay at sort of this steady pace and staff for it, and then sometimes just need some extras?
In an ideal world, we plan like some of the answers that I talked to going forward, we'll be talking about a growth plan and having an idea of what you want to do as a company. This is where we're going to focus. This is where we want to grow. From that, you focus on the skill sets that you need. Do we have them within? Are there people interested in having them or in developing them? Or where do we need to find these resources?
Awesome. Very cool. And I think because we didn't totally touch on this at the beginning, I do think just for everyone in the audience, if you're not totally aware, these are 3 groups that have really seen some pretty consistent growth in the last especially I'll say in the last 5+ years, but some significant growth across all three organizations. So I think that that's an important piece to just throw out there, just in case people weren't aware. So, Candace, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say, some of the other additional challenges when you're scaling your tech talent is maintaining that culture within your organization. You don't want to disrupt the culture, and it's really important. We've turned away really skilled, talented people because we didn't think that they would be a right fit for our culture. So that's, that can be a challenge for organizations. And of course, the talent shortage, that's a tricky one. So, again, it's about developing maybe the talent that you have, hit those referrals up, get creative in how you're going to find applicants for these roles. And, again, there's that sweet timeline too. You don't want to recruit too early, but you don't want to leave it too late and now you're stuck. So it's trying to find that right time to get those postings out there, because they can take some time to fill.
Awesome, that's a perfect segue into the next question for Candace. So, I guess, so thinking about that company culture side of things, what are some of the things that you do to maintain the company culture as you're scaling and growing and as that size of the company shifts?
Yeah, so when I started with LBMX 6.5 years ago, we were 29 people and we're now 92 employees, with 20% of that growth being just in the past 12 months. So we had to make that move from the flat structure to the hierarchy, and how do you maintain that culture while you're making that shift? And I think it's all about transparency. You keep your employees informed. Why are we doing this? What is the benefit of doing this? I think that if they're in the know, they're easier to adapt to the change, and they're more willing to adapt to the change. And when they see the benefits of it, they're gonna be more on board with it. We did our very best to try and put the right leaders in place, the right managers in place. We also are very good at developing our leaders. So people who have interest in management roles or have interest in moving up the ladder. We've got our mentorship program that we do in-house, and we also have our next gen program. So that's developing our future leaders. And it's important to actually move these people into leadership roles. You've trained and developed them. Don't leave them sitting there stagnant. Let's get them into these roles. So we've moved the people into the manager roles and have formed that hierarchy, and it's the people that want to be there. So, and again, it's hiring the right people. That's been our number one key to keeping our culture the way it is just hiring the right people. We don't always get it right. We recognize, and I think we don't always get it right when we are quick to hire. I would rather wait and leave that seat empty than hire somebody because we need to get the chair filled. And so I think that's a really important piece with your culture. And then checking in, just pulse checks, how's everybody doing? Are we happy? Surveys. Let's just keep an eye on the pulse and the, we want to keep the people happy. Keep the culture going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Christina, how can companies ensure that they have the right mix of skills and expertise on their tech teams when they're scaling?
This one, I'll go back to the project plan. You definitely need a growth plan as a company owner, as a department, or someone running a delivery department, if I can speak in agency speak, who is responsible for the technology, responsible for the developers. You need to have a plan as to where the company needs to grow, and then how does the technology fit into that complement? What is it? Do we have the skill set? And do we have the skill set leads to something that Yan Zhang, our director of delivery, lives by, is a skills matrix. And so she has a skills matrix of the developers, and what that includes is not only their skill set, but it also includes the level of the skill that they're at, also records training and accreditation that they've had, and then also includes, which I think is super valuable, is the what the employee wants to grow to, what they're interested in, what other parts of technology, or maybe if they want to be a manager or other aspects. So you have this information right here, because as we all know in technology, we can have the best growth plan ever, but 3 months down the road, we're meeting and we're changing it. So you need to, having this information accessible, I think is really valuable as far as when you want to grow and how you adjust and how you give people the best opportunity to grow with you.
Awesome. So expanding on that, do you have any tips that you can share around retaining talent for the longer term?
Yes.
Good. It'd be awkward if you said no.
I would say feeding off the skills matrix and recording what people are interested in developing and growing. Give people a voice. I think it's really important to make sure you're, whether it's surveys or how you're doing it, one-on-one discussions with your manager, you're having conversations, and then speaking of managers, you're empowering your managers, as Candace talked about, leadership training and mentorship and manager training, that the managers also have the tools to be able to work with their team, to be able to solve problems together, not just dictating this is what you need to do, but let's work together and solve some of your problems, whether it's technical or whether it's working with a project manager. Like, do you be able to work together and figure that out? And yeah, I think that's, oh, and then one other story too. This is an observation. Regarding companies start small and you have a core group of people and you usually are like-minded. That's why these smaller companies start, and they're small, so it's easy to communicate, it's easy to get work done, trust builds really quickly, and then you want to scale up. So you start scaling and hiring, and you hire just as talented people, but you don't know them as well, so it's more difficult to ask them for help. And then you scale again, and you hire more people. And these people are kind of moving to the outside more. So the way to retain people is for owners and directors to always be conscious of who you're leaning on. Make sure you're giving all your skilled employees a chance. Make sure you're giving them a chance to fail. And when they fail, make sure they own it and they're fixing the problems, not always going back to your core people to fix the problems. Give people the chance, because that gives them accountability. That gives them ownership to your company. That makes them feel like they're part of that team.
Love it, love it. Leanne, what metrics do you think companies should use to measure the success of their efforts when they're scaling talent?
That's a great question. And I don't know that I would say that there are any metrics I'd use as a blanket statement. I think I'd want to look at what's driving the need to scale the tech talent, right? What are you looking to support? Are you, say, supporting projected company growth? And so you're looking at some of the support functions. So you need to, if you have 30% headcount growth, you're going to have theoretically 30% increase in your service desk support requirements, right? So I bring it back to what the outcomes are that you're trying to achieve, build metrics around those. So service desk, you might look at SLA violation, time to close tickets, etc. If you've got a product roadmap that you're trying to deliver in X amount of time, and you understand the velocity of your current team, what number of teams, roles, etc. do you think you need to add to hit that, and then continue to measure progress towards those targets as you build those teams, onboard them, etc. So I think it's kind of very specific to the particular areas that you're trying to scale.
Awesome. So Candace, what would you say are some of the best practices when hiring students?
I love this question because we have a lot of students. So we bring in a lot of co-op students. We have a fantastic relationship with Fanshawe College, and we employ 3 to 4 co-op students each term. And I believe, I can't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it's 10% of our employees have gone on to become full-time employees from the co-op program. So that's great news for us. But when we're hiring or looking to recruit and they are students or recent graduates, we but you should relax your requirements when it comes to finding candidates for the role. Focus on the soft skills. They're not necessarily going to have the experience that you're looking for to fill the role, and they may have the fundamentals because they just went to school for it, but let's look at those soft skills and how can we develop them. Are these people that have an aptitude for learning? Is it something that you can train for? And we look at that when we're interviewing. And when we bring these students on board, we want to ensure that they have that smooth onboarding and training experience. do those regular check-ins. You know, we often forget that some of these students, they're young and they're just out of school, and this could be their very first corporate job of life, and they don't, you know, check in. Do they understand how your benefit programs are working? Do they understand your policies? Do they have any questions about vacation time? All those little things that just come as second nature to us because we do it every day and we've been doing it a while, we forget about. So, you know, I think it's important to check in, and it's important to make sure that they're settling in comfortably. Do they have a support system? Do they feel they have a friend within the organization? You know, sometimes there's a big age gap between members of a team, and you want to make sure that they are feeling as if they are a part of that team. So those regular check-ins. And then career development. You know, we encourage them to join our mentorship program. Just because you're brand new with the company doesn't mean that you can't participate in these. So we actually had one of our co-ops, he was a co-op with us. We knew we were going to hire him full-time at the end of his co-op placement. He's a rock star, so we had to have him. And he asked if he could participate in the mentorship program, and it was starting before he was becoming a full-time employee. And we said, absolutely, we want you to take advantage of this. So help them grow as well, and let them know that you do have a plan for them in their career.
Amazing. Liam, do you have any advice on how companies can ensure that their compensation and benefits packages are competitive when they're scaling their team?
Yeah, this is a thing that we think about constantly, all the time, a lot. It's a never-ending process. I think there's a couple things. I mean, it starts with just collecting as much data as you possibly can from as many places as you can. You know, taking a look at salary guides, understanding what you're bringing people in at, talking to people as they're leaving, and understanding, you know, what's influenced the decision to go, whether, you know, there's benefits packages impact there, whether it's salary, whether it's other things. You also have to sort of realize that by nature, only one person ever pays top of the market. Therefore, everybody else needs to understand what sort of their value prop is relative to that, and understand sort of where in the market you fit, what the whole employee experience looks like, you know, combining compensation and benefits along with the realities of the job, work-life balance and all that stuff, and understand how to position and market yourself as appropriate. But in terms of the compensation, it's really just about collecting data and spending as much time talking about it as you can.
It's an ongoing conversation.
Absolutely.
So we'll ask this question to everybody. So what advice do you have for companies that are just starting to scale their teams? So why don't we start with you, Christina?
I'm going to be repeating information, so I apologize, but repetition is sometimes good. So again, have a plan as a company, know where you want to grow, and once leadership knows where they want to grow, make sure the rest of the team understands what that goal is. For me, that's very important that your employees understand the direction, because it's not only you who's going to make this happen, but it's your employees who are going to make this successful. And ask your team to contribute. I'm slowly learning about surveys. I know my hair's white, but I'm getting more into surveys. They're a pretty powerful way to gain people's voice, to hear. You can do pulse surveys. Some of them are quick. You can target who you want to target, whose opinion you want, but it's a great way to get information relatively quickly and less painfully for the people who you're trying to get the information from. And then also work with your managers as well, who have one-on-ones with people. If you want specific knowledge, deliver those questions so they can get the answers for you as well.
Awesome. Leah, what do you think?
Yeah, the piece I would add would be to make sure that you're looking at both the people as well as the processes that are going to need to support it, right? As you sort of evolve, the processes sort of naturally tend to start ad hoc, and then you formalize them as formality is required. And so as you're bringing people in, start to understand at what point do you think these processes are going to break, and make sure that you're sort of planning ahead to accommodate for those.
Awesome. Candace, anything to add to that?
I do, just one piece, and it was actually a big one for us as we really started to scale and grow. We found it very important to get ourselves a really good piece of HR software that had a really great applicant tracking component to it. It was just much easier for us to manage all of the incoming candidates, sort them, have notes. You know, if we saw something that was good for another role, it was great to keep track of them this way. So I really recommend a good piece of HR software that has a really great applicant tracking component to it. And again, I've said that, I think I said this earlier, but don't wait too long to start that recruiting process. If you know you need to hire for the role, I would recommend, getting that posting out there and get going, because sometimes they can take a while from start to hire. And again, don't hire just for the sake of filling those roles. I said that earlier, but I can't stress it enough. Don't hire just to fill the seat. Really make sure it's the right fit for your organization.
If there are questions in the audience, so I'm gonna do a little audible here and reach out to the people sitting in the crowd to see if you have any questions, and if not, I can keep asking, but I don't want to not have time for your questions. So is there any questions from the group? No pressure. Yeah.
I have a question for all of you guys. How do you select a candidate out of those thousands or number of applications?
Great question, it's hard.
My side question is, are you looking for a job? Just seeing if we're trying to help fill some holes here while we're working on this. Who wants to start with that one?
Yeah, it is a challenge, and I think it's different for a lot of roles. I mean, what we often look for above anything else is fit on the team, right? Personality fit, experience fit, how they're going to integrate well with that team. Is that sort of the number one indicator of success, and the thing that can both positively or negatively impact a team the most? One of the key pieces.
Yeah, so we do go through every single resume when they come through, and you're looking for those must-have requirements for the role. And then from there, we do pre-screening interviews. So we have just short 15-minute quick interviews, and it's just a quick get to know you over the telephone to see if we think that this is somebody that would potentially be a good fit for the team. And then, of course, we have our in-person interviews after that.
Yeah, I would say our process is mirrored with Candace's. The same idea of reviewing resumes, pulling out the ones that we want to have a call with, and then leads to an interview. But was your question really like, how do we get right into, like, how do we go through the thousands of resumes that come in? One by one.
Right. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
To complement this question, I think so, in what way you can see the soft skills when you send a resume? Because it's a little bit interesting that you guys are talking about the soft skills, but you are only looking at paper.
Yep.
To read between a paper and the person, maybe you discard maybe 75% that have a good attitudes and skills.
Yep.
Of that one. So how you can make that possible?
So we really assess the soft skills during that interview process. So when we're going through the resumes in the beginning, we are looking for those must-have requirements that we absolutely need for the role. And then from there, once we do the interviewing process, then you get to know a bit more about them, and then you can assess those soft skills.
I would also add to, attending networking, coming to events like this and having a chance to meet different people. I know Tech Alliance has a series of networking times throughout the year. That helps build rapport with key people and can help you, I know someone, I met someone, here's the resume, let's move it to the top because I really like this person. Networking helps.
The referrals as well, those employee referrals.
Okay.
Anything to add to that, Liam?
No, just that kind of referrals and networking is sort of the number one source because it removes that element where you're just looking at paper until you start talking to them. And so, yeah, the personal connections are really the only way that you can short circuit that process.
Awesome. Okay, we have two. I'm gonna start Tina, right?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting this event. It's great and really meaningful, and thank you for the speakers as well. So I know that Candace, you have really emphasized on cultural fit. I was just curious, like, how do you assess if an applicant is fit in the culture? Like, what are the steps? What are you looking for? Is it just a feeling that you get, or is it more than that? Like, I want to hear that more insights on it.
So we really hire good people that are passionate about something, anything, people that have goals, but really it's so we ask, not a lot of personal questions, but we ask, like, what do you like to do for fun, or what do you like to do in your spare time? What's important to you as a person? And it's good people. Those are the people we hire at LVMX. So it's not just a feeling, it is getting to know them. You know, we have our skills assessment interviews, you know, can you do these components of the job? And the last round of interviews is with myself and our CEO. And that really is just a getting to know you session. And that's really where we determine that cultural fit for the organization. Yeah. But
Is
good
Greg,
people.
sorry,
Yeah.
is Greg still in every interview?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes to have a partner, and I think it's important. You know, he's the glue that keeps us all together. Yeah.
Awesome. Liam or Christina, do you have anything to add to that? From a culture, anything else that you would add to the culture fit?
I don't think I do.
Nothing specific.
Okay. Danielle, did you?
Yeah, my question is actually kind of related to that. How do you mitigate possible bias during your recruitment process? So you're talking about this culture fit and you're talking about getting to know them. So how do you mitigate for possible bias in that process?
Absolutely have a diverse interviewing panel. I think that's really key. I think it's probably the most important. And then of course you can do your unconscious bias training for all of the people that are involved in the recruiting process. But I think as long as you're keeping that interview panel diverse, then that's a way to remove a lot of those biases.
Yeah, I agree. We always have multiple people involved that are at varying levels, both on the team, leadership, etc. And then trying to ensure that we've got a consistent process. So you're asking the same questions, you're approaching every candidate kind of the same way, so that you've got a level playing field, at least in terms of the information you're getting, to be able to evaluate.
And then I think too, as far as evaluation goes for a technology role, we'll often give somebody a task to do. So it's not only the person, but it's also do they have the skill of showing that. So that also really helps to eliminate bias because we've given them a specific task that they need to fulfill.
So I think to segue onto that, what role would each of you say diversity and inclusion play in scaling your organizations and scaling the talent within the organizations? How do you ensure that your teams are diverse and that you have a culture of inclusivity?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of diversity on the team, I think it really just requires a conscious effort, right? You need a conscious effort to ensure that you're at least gathering a diverse talent pool to select from, and then selecting the best people out of that. And when you're looking at roles that are typically underrepresented, it just means that you need to make a more active effort to find the people, that are in that demographic. And that needs to then be paired with making sure you've got an inclusive culture, so that when you're bringing people in, they're having a positive experience in the workplace. And there's a number of things that we've been doing. Our HR team's kind of doing a fantastic job of facilitating a lot of inclusivity and learning sessions, so that you understand sort of the perspectives and the experiences that different people have in life and in the workplace, and how you can help kind of be empathetic and understand their perspectives. And then also we've got a series of ERGs, so employee resource groups, which are sort of self-organizing groups of people that identify in a similar way, that come up with initiatives and ways to help educate and support other employees within the organization.
Awesome.
I want to pick your brain a bit more about that later. Inclusive hiring best practices, I mean, that's something that we've implemented as well. So again, that diverse interviewing panel, inclusive job postings, that's an important one. Inclusive interviewing logistics. I think that's really key to remember too when you're interviewing people. You know, try to limit the amount of interviews that you're making people come and do. Be respectful and understanding of some of those obligations that people have outside of their working life. And, you know, again, the unconscious bias training, I think that's important to get that one on the table as well.
Awesome. Anything to add to that, Christina?
I'll just add a little story about inclusivity and how we've had to adjust our company to accommodate it. So our developers are all on teams. We have set teams, and with the pandemic and people working remote, we kept our teams the same. But at Northern, we have this piece called employee recognition. So it's a certain amount of money that's given to each team, and the team and manager decide how they want to spend it every quarter. And it's usually some sort of entertainment, lunches together, things like that. So what we were finding with these development teams is that it was a mixture of hybrid, remote, in-office. So there would be events where there'd be 2 people on a screen and 10 people in a room. And I'm like, and people were like, this is just not inclusive. This is not quite satisfaction that we need. So Yan, our Director of Development, was really smart and took the time, using the skills matrix, looking and reworked the teams so that we have remote teams who are 100% remote. Like, I don't mean London remote, I mean like outside of London remote. And then we have teams that are hybrid, in office and remote, but they're London remote, so that when they have events, they can come together in person. So that has really improved our engagement. People seem to better understand each other, morale. It's something so simple and so smart, and I'm very fortunate to work with Yan, I gotta tell you.
That's awesome. Before we wrap up, are there any final questions from the audience? Good for now? Well, I definitely, my brain is running full of ideas. I know it was definitely a thought-provoking discussion for me on both the talent side of things and workplace culture. I really hope that everyone has sort of that same feeling, because I know you guys have definitely given me and everyone in the room lots to consider, and I am sure that there are many wheels turning for lots of us in the audience and potentially some applicants coming forward. So a huge thank you to Christina, to Liam, and to Candace for sharing their expertise on such a fascinating, impactful, and ever-changing industry that can and does truly impact many thriving ventures that are contributing to our innovation economy. On behalf of Tech Alliance, thank you so much for joining us. We loved having everyone here with us today. Be sure to check out all of our upcoming events on our events page, and it's always our aim to keep you connected in the exciting world of regional innovation and technology and those that are making it happen. Please stay safe, be well, and have a good evening.